Welcome to New Life Live, the premier place to receive free advice from Christian psychologists and counselors for the mental, emotional, relational, and spiritual challenges you face. Since 1988, we've offered compassionate responses that combine God's truth with proven psychological principles to guide you toward healing. Our phone lines are open. Call us now at 1-800-229-3000.
Welcome to New Life Live. We are so glad that you're with us today. Myself, Chris Williams, marriage and family therapist, and I am so glad that Jim Burns is with me today.
Yay! We're a team today.
Absolutely.
Just you and me.
Well, and you have a pretty extensive resume, if I can say. You know.
Well, because is that another way of saying you're an old guy? You're an old guy. It's like the doctor when they say, for your age, you're doing okay.
You're seasoned very well, Jim. You're seasoned very well. But no, the impact that you've made over the years is really remarkable. And that one of the things I really look up to you in is that you don't seem to slow down in following God's will and call and impact in your life. And so I want to pick up more of that Jim Burns wisdom. What do you have for us today?
Well, I've been thinking about creating a media-safe home. On a previous show, we had a caller talk about it, but on almost every show we talk about sometimes screen time, and it could be when we're dealing with somebody who's addicted to pornography. But other times it's just, my kids, crazy on it. And I wanted to say a couple of things to parents, but also it's for us. I'm going to meddle in your life as well in the next moments. But, we can't just give our kids a phone or an iPad and then expect them to be responsible. We have to create a media-safe home, and in doing that, we have to be proactive about it. And so I tell parents all the time, listen to what they listen to. And you can't listen to everything, but it's a lot harder today. When my girls, we actually had these things. They were called CDs, and they would hand me a CD. And I know that sounds old-fashioned now, but it's not that long ago. But today, because of the digital world, it's with the music that they're listening to. What are they listening to? Who's influencing them? Because they're huge influences out there. Listen to what they listen to. Watch what they watch. Sometimes I think it's good to know what are they watching, because they're going through reels and they're looking at TikTok if they're at a certain age, or they're doing all those kinds of things. Well, who's influencing them? Some all technology is not bad. Yeah. But all technology is not good either. So we need to be aware of that. So you watch what they watch, and then read what they read. They still do some reading. Sometimes it's all online, but read what they read, because then you learn who's influencing them. And so I think you're going to have to, really evaluate what they are listening to, but also examine your own habits. Yeah. I was talking to kids in Richmond, Virginia, and I said, how many of you receive good, positive, healthy values when it comes to learning about screen time from your parents? And you know what? About 4 raised their hand. There were 800 kids in this room. Wow. That was not good. Yeah. Then I said, how many of you are addicted to social media? All 800 of them raised their hand. Now, kids, if half of them raise their hand, then everybody else is going to raise it. Yeah. I said, well, are you saying you're addicted, or you just think it's possible to be addicted? No, we're addicted. Yeah. Unbelievable. So we have to examine our own behavior too, because I see a lot of people losing, like in the car. We had a rule in the car with our kids where we weren't on screens. The reason was because we're in a box. We could called the car. We could talk and communicate. And so I sometimes see people wasting that time by everybody being on their own screen time, or making a call or whatever. But you're going to have to evaluate everything you see and hear, and that's a new world. Well, and I think that you bring up something I think is really important, Jim, is that this isn't a child issue that we have to monitor them. This is an all of us issue. Exactly. And the proliferation of information and access through our media is like never before. We're all learning how to do it, and we all need, especially our families, need to attack this together. Exactly. And children see, children do. For sure. So they're watching us. Yes. Yeah. Yes. And we know that modeling is one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful, forms of learning and teaching and educating. It is so important that you get resources on this. You can check out our resource, Understanding and Loving Your Child in a Screen-Saturated World. And Jim, thank you so much for that wisdom. Sure. And we're going to be back right after this.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn from New Life Live, and Chris Williams and I are doing the Emotional Freedom Workshop. A lot of people are in bondage from past trauma that has created an emotional web that they don't understand, and it prevents them from being free. A person that loses their temper regularly is not emotionally free. Someone who has anxiety just to get in the car and leave the house is not emotionally free. And walking around with the shame from a childhood or even a bad relationship as an adult, that is not emotional freedom, and we can help you get there.
The New Life Emotional Freedom Online Intensive is Saturday, September 14th. Steve Arterburn, Chris Williams, and Dr. Jackie Mack Harris will present information on the power of our emotions, procrastination, guilt and shame, and more. And small group leaders will help you process the information you learn. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. We are so glad that you're with us today. Myself, Chris Williams, Jim Burns here in studio. And I just want to remind our callers, September is a meaningful month to me because it's National Recovery Month. And I owe so much of my life to the recovery movement and my well-being, including, a pathway that God had led me in to a much deeper relationship with Him and to much healthier places. And we want, here at New Life, we want more people to access the life-giving resources and pathways of recovery. To help you get better acquainted with recovery, we are hosting a free Facebook Live event Friday, September 13th. That's Friday the 13th. It's not scary. It can be scary, but it's not as scary. And that's going to be 2 p.m. Central Time. Becky Brown, Alina Allsrule will be discussing the courage it takes to change. There is no registration needed. All you need to do is follow New Life Ministries with Steve Arterburn page on the Facebook account. You can also just visit newlife.com, click on the Facebook icon at the footer, and that's another way to connect to watch that. And so, again, I can't encourage people enough, whatever, I'd like to say this, whoever you are and whatever you're struggling with, there is a recovery process that can help you heal and grow and get into the life that God has desired for you. The other thing that I like about what we do is that we have an opportunity for people who want to get a question answered, want to work through an issue that for whatever reason can't listen live or call in live. And we know that there's plenty of people in that situation. So you can go to newlife.com, go on /radio, and there is a way there to submit questions. We wanted to take a special emphasis to say, hey, this isn't just something we're saying is a good idea. We actually do take this seriously. And so we are dedicating this show to your write-in calls. And so, Jim, are you ready?
Yes. I'm actually excited about this because there are so many ways to get to us. And this is a way that some people, I think, forget.
Exactly.
Because usually they hear voices. They're going to hear our voices, but the people who have written, and there's loads of people who do, we're going to kind of go through these.
Well, and one of the things that makes this program especially powerful is because one person's issue is not just their issue. No. As I like to say, one person's issue is everyone's issue.
Yeah. And it's fascinating because I hear people all the time call in and they'll say, you've been discipling me for years. And I think to myself, we don't even know your name. Mm-hmm. I'm a first-time caller. But what that means is as we look at other people's stories, then we can learn from those stories, and we can learn from the wisdom of the counselors who are, more than just you and me, who are on this, who are oftentimes on the show. But how interesting that we learn from other people. That's how I learn.
Yes,
I learn when somebody else says, like for you, when you said that this is Recovery Month and that your recovery was so important. it brings up so much hope for me, because I know people who are not in recovery yet, but who need to be in recovery. And so again, I think this is a neat time for you and I to have some conversation with people who've written in a different manner than making the phone call.
Absolutely. And before we get to this, I'll just tell you a quick story, okay? So I had a client, and she's dealing with a lot of issues and some abuse that was happening in her church that really impacted her in a deep way. And as we're working through all of this, she's just so closed off and fearful that she's afraid to open up to people, to let others know what's going on inside of her. Yeah. And I jokingly said, you need to go become an alcoholic today. Like right now. Don't pass go. Don't collect $200. Go drink yourself silly. Because, and of course that's tongue in cheek. I'm not really trying to prescribe a horrific problem in her life or for her husband and children. What I'm saying is because the solution is so amazing. Yeah. Is to sit in a room with other people and to let go of, by disclosing, the darkest, hardest, scariest parts of your life.
Right. Well, it's interesting because talking about alcoholism. So I don't have a problem in that area, but in my small group, we went through Celebrate Recovery. Yes. We went through the 12 steps. And you know what? I've often said that those steps for me was the deepest spiritual formation in my life, because it made me be brutally honest about my own sinfulness, not necessarily a problem with alcoholism. Yeah. But we can learn deeply by just being open. The beauty of recovery is that you share, what a goofball you are, and people accept you for who you are. And we know God does, but sometimes we think He acts like, our family.
Well, you need an earthly, real-time experience of that.
Yeah. God with kind of hands and a mouth and, a heart that we see sitting across from us that doesn't look like the God we thought we were going to see.
Well, one of the things I like to say, because it was true, is like before I got into recovery, I was a general sinner with general sin that had general impact and general consequences. Therefore, I got a general savior with general salvation.
So good.
Right? I got into recovery and I figured out real quick, I'm a very specific sinner. Yeah. With very specific sin that has specific consequences and impact. Right. Therefore, I need a specific savior with a specific salvation.
I love that. Oh, man, I need to write that down. That's so good. And, confession. First of all, obviously we confess our sins to God, but the Bible even says, confess your sins to one another and you will be healed.
Absolutely.
And so the healing process of your being specific about it, and then, that's the beginning of the healing process.
Yes. And if you would like more of this, please join our Courage to Change online conference October 5th. If you want to find out more about it, again, Friday, September 13th, 2 p.m. Central Time, Facebook live event on New Life Ministries with Steve Arterburn page. So let's get to this. Let's get to this write-in caller. It's not a caller. It's a writer-inner. Yeah, we're going to get to a writer-inner. And it's Jackie. And Jackie says this. She asks first this question: where do I go with my relationship with my son after he set fire to the house? Okay, so here's the circumstance. This past July, she says, my 23-year-old son, who is duly diagnosed, both bipolar and smoking synthetic marijuana, set fire in our house. He set our stairs on fire, which was our route in case of emergency. Thankfully, no one was hurt. He turned himself into the police after fleeing the scene. He's been in jail since then and is awaiting trial. I know I can never trust him again because of this. Is it wise to try to have a semblance of a relationship with him? This is a big one, Jim.
This is a big one because what you see a lot of times, Chris, and you know this so well, is that when somebody has bipolar, when somebody has a situation like this, they medicate themselves on something like marijuana.
Yes.
And I realize marijuana, there's a medical part to it that we won't even get into right now, but that kid is not doing the medical part. That kid is making some very poor choices, not in control of the bipolar. And I think, first of all, he's going to have to do the work to get well. And so mom has to, set those boundaries to help him get well. Because frankly, people who have bipolar, there's medication, there's so many other ways to get well. I mean, we all have these, missing holes in our heart. He has a pretty big one. He can get well, but she's the one who's going to have to get the knowledge to help him make those decisions. And yeah, you don't have the same relationship now, but you tiptoe back into a relationship with boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, when we start seeing, we have a diagnosis here. I'm not sure who diagnosed it, but we want to make sure a qualified professional obviously is doing that. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that self-medicating does, especially through drugs or substances, is that although it'll make us feel better in the moment, and that's always the problem with these substances, is they work really, really well.
Right.
But they also inhibit decisions. Mm-hmm. Meaning there's actually this, if I can get really technical for a moment.
You can be a nerd. I've seen you go there.
Okay, there's this thing called glutamate.
Yeah.
And glutamate is our prefrontal cortex's way of saying, stop, bad decision. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Okay. When there's a high rush of dopamine, which most intoxicating substances come with a high level of a rush of a dopamine. If we were to think of a stream of that decision making to say, no, stop doing that, glutamate coming down a mountain, the substances oftentimes create a tsunami of dopamine pushing it right back up.
Yeah.
So the things that, as I like to say, a good decision becomes very bad really quickly, and a bad decision becomes good very quickly. And so obviously if that's compromised with something like bipolar, we need to treat this as it is a very serious medical condition.
Right.
And so medical professionals who specialize in mental illness, a good psychiatrist and specialists in bipolar disorder, need to be involved in the treatment here.
Yeah, and if Jackie can help her son get that help. And because he's in prison, there's actually even some ways of getting help even while he's in prison, if he's willing to do it. If he's willing to do the work, then, Jackie has the chance of having the relationship that maybe she even never dreamed she would have. But it's by burning the house, you did change the relationship there.
For sure.
But at the same time, the way now to help him is to help him make those right decisions by, maybe they're going to have to look up the psychiatrist, or they're going to have to call the prison and say, how, what can you do even while he's in prison?
Well, and I think that's the thing that we overlook, is that there are oftentimes resources available.
Yes.
And as scary as prison may be, and we don't want anyone to make decisions that lead them there. And we don't want anyone to have to stay there longer than necessary.
Right.
Yet, prison sometimes can be a gift in the sense that, it can offer resources available to get him the help that he needs.
Exactly. And what I think people, and we've said this on a previous show that I was on with you, when I was getting some counseling hours, I actually worked in a prison in New Jersey. And the fascinating side to it was I had no idea all that they offered. But I don't think parents know that. And it's not like they give you when your adult kid, especially, is in prison, they give you a little, book on here's all the options. You don't see that. But if you talk to the chaplaincy, you talk to their counseling center, they could get this thing started while he's in prison, where he's probably not smoking pot.
Yeah.
I know that happens sometimes, things like that, but especially not pot, because that they're smoking, because you're going to smell it and he's going to get in bigger trouble. So, he's now off, quote unquote, medicating his bipolar. So hopefully what he's learned is that there's some things that can make him, think better. And I love your illustration, by the way, because, we say don't drive and drink. Well, that's because of the same exact thing. You're not in control of your ability to make wise decisions. You get that guy in control of making wise decisions, even with bipolar, there is hope. I know people who have bipolar who actually live good lives.
Absolutely. Yeah, there is a lot of hope here. And Jackie, I want to also give one more practical thing here. And that is, it's going to not start practical, it's going to start a little bit more philosophical, but oftentimes, and I think we as Christians, but we as human beings, but Christians fall into this. It's like either there is a godly biblical way or there is a worldly medical way. And I'm like, it's a false dichotomy.
Yes.
It's a both and.
Yep.
There is a godly way and there's a medical way forward here.
Right.
It's a similar thing with a relationship. Do I cut off all relationship with them? Well, no. Boundaries allow you to set boundaries around dangerous behaviors and still engage in figuring out how to have a loving relationship with them.
No, exactly. And you've got to get the counsel. Jackie needs the counseling help because, again, she had a little PTSD
Yes,
from
that's
watching
a
her
traumatic
house
event,
burn.
yes.
Sure. And living with a kid who has bipolar. So she needs the help. Get yourself well. There's answers for you. There's answers for him. And that's the good news that, today when you talk about mental health, there are good answers. And mental health is a godly way of getting, help.
Yeah.
A lot of times, like you said.
Well, there is this conference, the National Association of Christian Counselors, that holds a conference. And when, the encouragement of being there reminds me of the power of New Life's network of Christian counselors. Mm-hmm. And that is Christian counselors and therapists are doing some cutting edge, great work all over the country. Yeah. It may take us some time to get some research involved in this. Sure. But if you're out there listening today and you are struggling and you need help, you need that way forward, you can get a hold of us. Call our resource center, 1-800-NEW-LIFE, and we can connect you with a coach or a therapist appropriate for what you're struggling with today. Because we're not meant to do this alone, and we're not meant to do it all. When we need help, the best thing we can do is go get it, and we are here for you to help you. And Jim, we're going to be back right after this.
Absolutely.
I came kicking and screaming. The last 24 years have been filled with pain. I was violently molested and raped from the age of 6 to 13. It has changed everything in my life. This weekend for me has been life-altering. I have realized that God does love me, that this is my story, and that's okay for the first time in a long time.
This is Steve Arterburn, and this is the story of a new life. She came kicking and screaming and now has a changed life. You can be part of offering hope to others as you step out in faith by donating to New Life Ministry.
To make your tax-deductible gift, visit newlife.com and click Donate. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or text NLM to 28950. That's NLM to 28950.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. We are so glad that you are with us today. Myself, Chris Williams, and Jim Burns. And now we have Elizabeth from Boston, Massachusetts, who is connecting and listening to us on the app. I just want to remind everyone that New Life has an app. Okay. New Life Ministries, newlife.com. Go get our app, download it, and you can listen to us anytime you want. And you can access all of our resources through there as well. Elizabeth, we're so glad that you're with us today. Can you tell us what's going on in your life?
Hi, thank you for taking my call. I'm going to try and be brief because I know that's usually what you guys need. So I'm going to start out by giving you quick history. I met my ex-husband when I was young, 19. He was very charming guy, and I think at that point I entered into a relationship that I didn't realize it, but it grew over time into more emotionally abusive as time went on. He was really strangely like obsessed about past relationships that I had, and so much so that it was like very like he wanted details of intimacy with other people, and I was very young at that time, and I didn't purposely not tell the truth, but I just wasn't taking the relationship that seriously because it was in the beginning stages of the relationship. As time went on, he would go back and keep questioning me about relationships and similar like intimate details of things that at this point, like 20 years later, I really didn't even remember.
Mm-hmm.
It got to be to the point in his mind that my answers didn't match up with what he thought I had said like 20 years ago. And so it went as far as to like, he told me that I was a pathological liar, and he wanted me to take tests online. Also, at one point, had me like repeat out loud that I was evil, and just saying that I wasn't like pure, and like I think it was a really bad point in our relationship. We went on to get married, and this was since like we had already been married, and like if I was really upset, like he'd say that I was like upset, and then it was like infecting the children. And so unfortunately I made the mistake of instead of being like strong enough to directly tell him to stop, I took a coward's way out and ended the relationship by cheating on him. And since that time, I've 100% been able to forgive him, but like on no level ever forgive myself, and I don't know how to. And I know that like I don't want to hear like I just want to hear real stuff, like as far as like I'm not stupid, so I know that it's not right to do that, and like I just don't know how to like work on forgiving myself, or if there's any point at all to even work on it. So sorry for crying, and I'm trying to be quick. So
well, no apologies for crying, because Elizabeth, you have been through an incredibly painful experience, and so
just words, you know what I mean? Like those are just words, and so if you're a strong person, you can not take that seriously, and like you can tell them to stop, and like it blows my mind now that like over time, like getting stronger, that I didn't do it the right way.
Yeah. So yeah, and you know what that makes you? A human being.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I also have kids.
But Elizabeth, I understand that. But I would love for you to get connected with more 19-year-old females. Right?
Maybe, like, because I guess when you're 19, you're not seeing things as clearly. Like,
there's no maybe about that. Yeah, there's no maybe about that, you know. And my guess is that if we went back into your history as well, the home that you grew up in, the family that you grew around, that there were most likely a lot of fear and control in that environment.
Probably, I would imagine like fear. I don't know about control, but like there's probably like I think I definitely have like probably like abandonment things, like. But,
okay, so when you say probably abandonment things, what would have that looked like in your home growing up?
My mom had an eating disorder, so she was anorexic, and at one point she was hospitalized for like quite a long time, and then she took us to she's Australian, so she took us to, when we were young, moved us to Australia, started a new school, but she
Can I jump in, Elizabeth?
Yeah.
So you know what an eating disorder is?
I mean, clinically, yeah.
Okay. It is a high level of control, trying to control the uncontrollable.
For herself, but I never really felt it like with us.
But you saw it.
Well, yeah, with her, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
But I'm also going to say you Jim and I talked earlier about the power of modeling. You know?
Yeah.
She modeled something for you.
Yeah.
And if your mom modeled what it meant to be a woman, what did she model for you?
Maybe, I guess, to be overly concerned with what's on the outside.
Yeah. And to maybe not pay attention to what's going on the inside. So
Yeah.
So we're going to come back after the break. We're going to talk more about this. We're going to give you the help that you need to move forward in the midst of this. But Jim, I just see this all the time. It's like, how could I have done this? But then when we actually read the chapters ahead of the decisions, we start to be like, oh, that's how.
Yeah.
And we start letting ourselves off the hook.
Yep.
We're going to be back right after this.
I'm addicted to oxycodone. I've been on oxycodone almost 3 years.
Addiction affects millions of people every year.
I've been on it for a long time, and I need to get off.
New Life can connect you with some of the finest Christian inpatient treatment programs in the country that work with people from all backgrounds and beliefs.
First it was for back pain, and I was on it for a long time. And then I currently just had shoulder surgery.
If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction to illegal or prescription drugs, alcohol, or dealing with an eating disorder, it's time to seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have partner treatment centers all around the country.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Club New Life changes lives.
I think I go way back to listening to New Life, learning so much from it, and then becoming a Club New Life member.
Club New Life is a monthly giving family that helps New Life Ministries provide Christ-centered hope and counseling resources to thousands of people.
You know, I'm so thankful because you know why I keep giving? Because I keep learning, and I'm so thankful for all the lives that you touch every day and the people's lives. So when I get to still hear the radio show, it's just so encouraging to my heart.
When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, you'll make a difference in the lives of individuals and families with godly counsel and connection to help.
And you know one reason I give? Because I feel like sometimes I'm hiding behind a counselor's couch, listening to all this great information and not paying. So my guilt of this great advice is alleviated by being a Club New Life member.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. And together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. We're so glad that you're with us. We have with us today Elizabeth. And Elizabeth, you're talking about you are in this emotionally abusive, controlling relationship with your husband, and your way out of that was an affair, and now the pain that you're carrying towards yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So Jim, where do you guide Elizabeth today?
No, it's interesting, Elizabeth, because when you started talking and when you said words like he made you say, you know, these words, evil, etc., pure, my eyes welled up with tears just because I'm kind of that guy anyway. But my eyes welled up with tears because I want you to hear something from your ex. This is not about you. This is about him. We'll get to you in a minute. That's weird. That's wrong, and it's not acceptable ever. So when you said it would have been great to have some boundaries, you're right, because that's just weird, wrong. And we've all done this. I mean, I've been married for 50 years, and Kathy and I over these years, we always say we have a high maintenance marriage, and so we say, you know, awkward stuff to each other. And so we're going to say things, but I just want you to hear that. That's never right. I don't care if whatever you did, that's the wrong way to do it. He was wrong. I'm sorry.
I wasn't, just because I feel like more information should be there.
Yeah.
I was barely experienced at all. And like, strangely enough, he was like extremely experienced. So I was not.
No,
like,
yeah, interesting enough. So he was laying stuff on you that's, you know, more about him. The thing I want to get to is that you said you're doing, you know, better in your kind of recovery. Now, if you didn't listen to the beginning of the show because you're online or whatever it was, listen to at the beginning of our show, because again, we talked about recovery. And the beauty of recovery is that, I think the beauty of recovery is it's God's way of bringing healing to us, and it's usually, frankly, not a sprint. It's a marathon. It's a long-term process, and I think you're in the process of recovering. But you were talking about forgiving yourself, and let me ask you. I'm going to play Pastor Jim for just a minute. The Bible says, and it's a famous scripture, if you confess your sins, He's faithful and just to forgive you of your sins and cleanse you from all unrighteousness. Do you believe that God can cleanse you?
I believe it for other
Yeah.
people.
Okay, good. Okay, that's what I was hoping for, because now, when I say I was hoping for, because if you believe that, it becomes a process now of accepting His forgiveness, because your sin isn't any worse than anybody else's sin. God loves you for who you are, not for what you do. And you can say that about others, but it's harder for us. So now the process of you doing what you can to receive His forgiveness, because His forgiveness is for you, just like it's for your friends who've done other things, right? And so the process, I think, is a long-term process a couple of ways. One is just immerse yourself with scriptures. Type in online, type in forgiveness. Christian forgiveness, scriptures on Christian forgiveness, and read them and put them in your mind, and it helps you change your mindset and your heart. But then also be around people who know you and love you for who you are, and forgive you. I mean, in many ways. We talked about recovery, and oftentimes the recovery process, there's somebody with flesh, knee to knee across from you, that goes, you know what, I forgive you. You're amazing. Yeah, you are amazing. They take, I've had to have people in my life be the hands and mouthpiece of God. Mm-hmm. So make sure that you're in a group of people, or at least one person. And I always suggest it's not a romantic situation, but be with somebody who actually shows you the love of God with forgiveness and accepts you for who you are. Does that make all of the past go away? No, there's circumstances to our past, but you know what? We can go beyond that. And I think the people who actually recover best are the people who can lean into understanding God's forgiveness for them, and then begin to process it and live it out, because other people are helping them understand that, what I want to say to you is, no, you are God's workmanship. Mm-hmm. You are created in the image of God. You are loved by God unconditionally. Not, as I said before, not for what you do, but for who you are. That's, by the way, anybody who's listening to this program, including Chris and myself.
Yes.
And so when you get that grasped, does it make all your problems go away? No, it doesn't. But now, at least intellectually, it begins to work on your mind and your heart. And when you can finally forgive yourself, God's already done that for you, by the way, because I'm sure you've prayed to Him and asked for forgiveness. So God's done it. Now, when
I've also apologized to I apologized to my ex as well, but it's tricky because he's told me that he will make sure that every day for the rest of my life is hell.
Okay, well,
so it's like
it's, well, as we talk a lot on this show about boundaries, and so you're going to have boundaries with him, because honestly, that's awful. And sometimes you just need to hear that. That's awful. And it goes back to the same thing I said. That's kind of weird, wrong, and not acceptable for him to say that. So that's his problem. That's not your problem now. And so you want to have the boundary where that doesn't happen very much. You apologized. How cool is that? But don't keep running in that stream. Yeah. And pour your life into getting healing, and become the most incredible person you can be. I sense that in you. And then also, you, like you said, you have kids. Be the mom that you can be, and get as healthy as you can, because that makes you a better mom. Forget this past as you go through the process. And Paul said that very well in the Bible. He said, forgetting what was past, now looking forward, and looking, persevere, in this race before us. There's a lot of good scripture for you, but at the same time, you can't probably do this alone. Make sure that you're getting counseling. Make sure that you're in that recovery process. Make sure that you have friends who love you the way you deserve to be loved, and it's not going to be your ex.
So in Elizabeth, with what Jim is telling you, when pain remains unaddressed, unhealed, it turns into fear. And fear, when it remains unresolved and uncomforted, turns into shame.
I definitely, like, I feel pretty much like I wear like a scarlet.
Yes, absolutely. So let me say this as clearly as humanly possible. Your ex-husband is a shame machine. That's all he knows how to do, is operate off of shame, and all he's going to be able to do is create more pain. Now, I believe he put a lot on you. I believe that there was struggles growing up with what I call the contagion of shame. There's something wrong with us that we can't figure out, but it makes us, fundamentally defective and rejectable. Yeah. And so any love is good love, no matter how destructive it is. And that's just kind of the trap, the painful trap that we fall into. And, just what Jim is saying, we want you to discover a deeper love. A love that is more true, a love that is more eternal, or what I call an infinite love, an unconditional love. And that's going to take time. It's going to take time with God. It's going to take time with other people. And so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to send you a copy of Leslie Vernick's book, Emotionally Destructive Relationships, so you can clearly see that what you were in was a very, very unhealthy, abusive relationship, and you can start getting the healing from that. I also want you to register for our Emotional Freedom Intensive, the Emotional Freedom Intensive online. Okay, it's coming up September 14th, just here in a week, or just beyond a week or so, because it is really going to help you take that next step, okay, and understand what's going on, and do that in a group environment. Because, Elizabeth, you do need freedom. You need freedom from this abusive relationship, and I think more powerfully, and just as importantly, freedom from the shame that you carry on inside of you. You are not the accumulation of a bad decision, or even a string of bad decisions. To echo what you're saying, Jim, is I want you to hear two guys that struggle in life also say, you are loved beyond belief. Yep. You are valuable beyond belief. And I'm so sorry that the person you were married to couldn't see that nor handle that well. All right, my friend. Okay, let's follow up with this. Get to that workshop and let's start this healing process to addressing the real problem going underneath all of it and driving it all. So, Elizabeth, we thank you so much for calling in. We thank you for your courage, your vulnerability in that. And Jim, there's just so many marriages out there where the people are being mistreated. Right. And there is no biblical excuse whatsoever to be mistreated.
No, absolutely not. And she sounds like a very wonderful person who, at 19, she probably shouldn't have married him. We make poor choices. Yeah. But now she's got to move on.
Excellent. Right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Elizabeth. And I just want to remind everyone, just like we said, there is the Emotional Freedom Workshop intensive that's coming up September 14th. If you're stuck in a really, really difficult place and you can't get unstuck, this intensive is for you. The other one I want to mention, if you're a guy who's stuck in sexual acting out, our Every Man's Battle coming up September 20th in Washington, D.C. And with that, we're going to be back right after this.
We all face days where life throws us a curveball and our routines or plans get disrupted. Things we wanted to do are forced to take a backseat to the unexpected demands of the day. If you normally listen to New Life Live on a radio station, well, you might not be able to that day. And on these hectic days when you're feeling stressed or frazzled, hearing the sound of counsel given on New Life Live is just what you need to navigate the unexpected things of life.
Every time I'm troubled or I have a problem, I'll cut on New Life, and there's always something that is said that is helpful to me.
By listening, I have learned more than I can ever express about how God wants me to live.
Download the New Life app for the easiest way to listen wherever you are and at a time that's convenient for you, or watch the show on our YouTube channel. You can even subscribe to our podcast from your favorite podcast provider. You never have to miss a day of New Life. Wherever you are, we are.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for over 34 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
I'm an addict, and I'm trying to get God in my life again.
Our Christ-centered treatment programs can help you break free to embrace all that God has for your life and your family.
I just want to thank you guys for bringing me to a relationship with Jesus.
There really is help for marital problems, depression, addictions, panic attacks, and feelings of hopelessness.
I came back with so many tools to help me prepare myself to fight this struggle and this battle that I have every day.
You can start living again today, living the life God intended for you. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
They did care, and they did follow up very lovingly, and it made all the difference in my life.
Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Someone who cares is waiting at the other end of the phone. God can open the door to a better tomorrow. Call 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. Chris Williams with Jim Burns. Jim, one of the great joys is being a part of this ministry.
You're right.
Is, with your work at Homeward, our work at New Life Live, we really are trying to proliferate, if I can use a fancy word, get as much out there as possible for people to access healing and growth resources.
Yeah, and life transformation happens with this. I'm amazed. As I've been sitting here for now over a year, I'm amazed at the life transformation that takes place, whether it be, on the show or at these incredible intensives.
Absolutely, because I just think about Elizabeth.
Oh.
And for her to be stuck in her pain without hope, without direction, it's just, that's not God's will.
No.
That is far, far, far from God's will. And God's will does desire us freedom. And again, being part of New Life allows us to do that, allows us to do it on the radio, allows us to do it through our resources, our workshop, everything that we have going on. But it does require something. It requires financial support.
Right.
And that's just a reality of the ministry, a reality of what we do. And again, I can say this as a non-stakeholder in all of this in some ways, is that I am so amazed by the financial fidelity that each dollar, it really is counted and utilized to its maximum effort. We need you to come alongside of us and help continue the ministry that we have going on here, to continue to bring hope and healing in people's hardest places in their life. And so you can donate by going online to newlife.com. There is a donate icon there. Press on that today. And if you haven't, or you haven't in a while, please consider this ministry is something to partner with, that I want our donors to know that you are an essential part of the mission and the ministry and the impact and lives being transformed and changed.
Chris, let me add that I know the leadership and I trust the leadership, and I think we give to things. We all give. It's a matter of how much we're going to give, but we give to life change.
Yes,
and they can anybody who donates can be assured that there's life change, and they can be assured that this ministry is a ministry of integrity with leadership, and that we can't say about every. Even ministry.
Well, unfortunately not.
Right.
Unfortunately not. I wish we could.
Yeah.
But
that's New Life, and that's what I appreciate. And for all of these years, that's what I appreciate about New Life.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. Well, Jim, here's what I want to do. As we finish out our time together today, let's go to one more of these write-in callers, or write-in writers, as I like to say. The question that CJ has for us is, what should I do while my married 31-year-old daughter who lives out of state decides if she wants to reconnect? How can I fix an issue when I don't know what it is? So the backstory of this is this is a 54-year-old, raised 3 children alone. They all have very close relationships, and CJ says, I still do with my 2 sons. However, when my daughter, who is now 31, went away to college, she came back a different person. She was distant and cold, showed little emotion or concern at all. But she would talk when she called her. And that went on for about 7 years. Recently, something changed. She would not answer my calls, letters, emails, or texts. I found out that she was going to be in town for a graduation, never told me and it is an extremely painful situation. She says, I have no idea what I've done to cause this type of response for her. She said, in June, I was able to speak with her briefly, and she shared that she believes she needed therapy to deal with it in quotation marks. But she refuses to tell her what her pain is. I'm struggling with the unknown. I've apologized several times, don't know what I've done. How do I deal with the fact that my pain is not relevant to her and her brothers don't understand? So she's just stuck in this estranged relationship without much to go on. So where does CJ go from here?
Well, for one thing, CJ is not alone. The latest statistic, which I just read, is 27% of families have at least one person that there is estrangement in. That's amazing. That's more than 1 out of 4. So, and what's tough is right at the end of her note, I was thinking about the siblings, because sometimes you can learn some insight from the siblings, because she might not be talking to mom, right? CJ's mom might not be talking to mom, but will talk to the siblings. Unfortunately, that doesn't sound like the case. Because her daughter opened the door a little bit, I wouldn't, because it's not going to work, I wouldn't jump in and try to fix it immediately. I would just build a safer relationship. I think it takes the technique. Sometimes they jump right in, they tell you everything they want, and you're like, wow, I wasn't even expecting all that. Other times, I think you have to tiptoe back into the relationship with love, and it's not the daughter's job to care for her pain right now. She's got to find other places to get help for her pain, CJ's pain. But I think you tiptoe into it. And so maybe it's a thing where, and I don't know what the distance is, the daughter was at an event in her area, is it ever, hey, I'd like to come to your area and I'd like to have a 45-minute coffee with you. And if you want to talk about where we've been, great. And if you don't, that's fine too. And I don't know CJ's finances, but if she said, if I could help with that you want some therapy, if I could serve you by coming alongside, that would be, and offering 2 sessions or whatever. Yeah. That may be something. So it's just opening the door a little bit. I find that most of the time, it's not when they're not going to unload. And then the parents want to fix it too quick. Yeah. This is the time to just tiptoe into it and do it with love. And there's 100 things you have on your list you want to talk about, and do none of them. Just let them respond at their time period.
I think that's really important, because I oftentimes give this principle, but I think you're better at the practicals, Jim, because I say, what you want to be able to do is play the long game here, not the short game.
Yes. No.
And so what are things that parents can do to play the long game in the immediate?
Yeah, and when you're playing the long game, you're writing a card at birthdays, anything special, and putting in a Starbucks card. I always say this. I don't know why I always say Starbucks, but putting in some on a card. I love you. I'm thinking of you today. I hope you are celebrated well. And you want to say 100 other things, but in the long game, you're just entering the game.
Yeah.
And eventually, I think that breaks them open to being open to you, because they're going, mom's different or something. And especially if, CJ, there's ever been a time when you've tried to fix it immediately and at panic stage, jump into that, because that doesn't work for this daughter. It might work for the next kid, but it doesn't work for this daughter. It's evident that that's been the case. So then you're going to play, again, I love your illustration of the long game, because, how do you get back into the game? You get back in the game by being loving, by cheering them on, by caring, even when you're not getting a response.
Yeah. And I find one of the things that, especially a person like myself who deals with historical abandonment trauma, what I tend to do is when I experience relationships where there's ghosting on there, or there's that silence, that radio silence, is that the way I phrase it is this: I like to write really bad stories on blank sheets of paper.
That's so good.
Right? Okay. So this person's giving me blank pieces of paper where I love to write these really bad stories, not realizing that the bad stories I'm writing, one, are based in my own head, based on my own traumatic experience, and super unhelpful for me.
Right.
And so I want to encourage us, people like me, be careful not to write bad stories on blank pieces of paper.
So good. And sometimes we overthink it all, too.
Yeah.
You've used the phrase, even in this broadcast, you talked about overthinking. And, there's a whole, now, concept called overthinking, that we overthink, and a lot of times we go to the negative when we overthink, and it may be something, more silly. Maybe not.
Well, Jim, you have a great resource, and that is Doing Life with Our Adult Children. And please check that out. Go to newlife.com. You can see that there. Jim, thank you so much for being with me today. I had a great time. Thank the rest of you for being with us. And going into this weekend, we wish you very, very well.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again on Monday for New Life Live.
Thanks for watching today. We love helping people. I hope you sense that. And we know that there's always hope if you find the right resource. Now, if something we've said to somebody else applies to you, that's fantastic. That's what we're hoping for. But also, if you want to join us directly, you can call 1-800-229-3000 between 1 and 3 Eastern Time, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Those are the best times to get through. And while you're here on YouTube, check out these other videos that we've done to help people see where they could grow or a different path to take. And if you do that, would you give us a thumbs up on the video, and please subscribe to this channel. There are many ways that we can help you outside of the radio program, and it's very hard for some to pick up a phone and dial 1-800-NEW-LIFE. But when you do, we put you in touch with somebody who cares about you, knows all the resources out there, and they're going to find the best for you. There is no reason to struggle alone. I hope to see you tomorrow. Hope you'll invite somebody else to come and join that maybe needs just a little bit of help along the way. I'll see you next time.